to all dads raising a child with special needs. Mark your calendar and plan to attend the Special Fathers Network Dads Virtual Conference, Saturday, May 14th. It's a must-attend event for dads looking to learn about the Special Fathers Network, to meet other dads, to gather resources, develop skills, and network with other like-minded dads. Register today at 21stcenturydads.org. Special thanks to Horizon Therapeutics for sponsoring the Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast, working tirelessly to research, develop, and bring forward medicines for people living with rare and rheumatic diseases. Discover more about Horizon Therapeutics' mission at horizontherapeutics.com.
I guess you could call that we were in panic, and we were trying to seek any avenue out for Carter to receive a miracle and not have Down syndrome or not have to have open heart surgery. Needless to say, the miracle didn't happen in Carter, but it happened in our lives. That we were able to be so blessed and are today, not only with all three of our children, but with Carter being in our life, it opened up a new world to us. In a world that we are so excited to be involved in and so happy to be part of.
That's our guest this week, Damion Navarro, owner of NES Environmental, a father of 3 children, and now a farmer, the co-founder of Navarro Farms, employing people with special needs. We'll hear Damion's story and more in this Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast. Say hello to host David Hirsch.
Hi, and thanks for listening to the Dad to Dad podcast, Fathers Mentoring Fathers of Children with Special Needs, presented by the Special Fathers Network.
The Special Fathers Network is a dad-to-dad mentoring program for fathers raising children with special needs. Through our personalized matching process, new fathers with special needs children connect with mentor fathers in a similar situation. It's a great way for dads to support dads. To find out more, go to 21stcenturydads.org.
And if you're a dad looking for help or would like to offer help, we'd be honored to have you join our closed Facebook group. Please go to facebook.com/groups and search Dad to Dad.
Now let's listen to this fascinating discussion between Damion Navarro and David Hirsch.
I'm thrilled to be talking today with Damion Navarro of Frankfort, Illinois, the father of 3 children, owner of NES Environmental, a company that performs high-quality inspections and does removal of hazardous waste material. He is also the co-founder of Navarro Farms, a not-for-profit that employs individuals with special needs. Damion, thank you for taking the time to do a podcast interview for the Special Fathers Network.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you taking the time to interview me.
You and your wife, Sherri, have been married for 24 years and are the proud parents of 3 children, Autumn, 19, Selah, 11, and middle brother, Carter, who is 17, who has Down syndrome. Let's start with some background. Where did you grow up? Tell me something about your family.
Well, I originally was born and raised in Hammond, Indiana. We then located to East Chicago, Indiana. And then I eventually ended up graduating out of Griffith, Indiana.
And did you have any siblings when you were growing up?
I did. I have an older sister who's 3 years older. Her name's Kim Navarro. And I have a younger brother who is 3 years younger, John Navarro.
And out of curiosity, what does your dad do for a living?
My father was, when he was employed, he was a millwright in Inland Steel, which is a steel mill right there in Northwest Indiana, out of East Chicago, Indiana.
And how would you describe your relationship with your dad?
Well, it's interesting, to say the least. When I was a young kid, I would have to say my relationship was one of a child striving for a relationship. My dad grew up. He was born and raised in Mexico, so he grew up in a different kind of environment, more of a harder environment than maybe we were experienced to here, or most people are. So he was very stern, kind of frustrated with society because as a child, when he came here, he didn't speak English. He only spoke Spanish. And it was an interesting road for my father, along with my mother. But more importantly, my father, being a Latino, there were a lot of struggles, and I seen that as a kid. But, you know, he always had a strong work ethic, and I think that's the most important thing that he tried to always instill in us. Even though if he wasn't around much when he started working or whatever else he was doing, we always knew my father had a strong work ethic. So it was an interesting dynamic that he brought to the table that I think all of us siblings have that similar trait.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. So when you think about your dad, is there an important takeaway, a story, something perhaps that you've tried to incorporate into your own fathering that you take from your dad?
Yes, sir. Well, yeah, I'd say the one thing that sticks out the most is never worry about what other people are doing. Always work as hard as you can and never be afraid. My father, I'm kind of giggling to myself right now because I could picture my father saying this to me. Never be afraid to ask a question, mijito. Mijo, you always got to ask questions because I don't have the answers, but never be afraid to ask anyone, for an answer to a question you have. And the only stupid question you're going to have, mijo, is the one that you don't ask. So don't be stupid. Ask questions. That's what he would always say to us. And through that experience, after I was able to get rid of some pride and mature and become an adult, mainly when I became a husband and more importantly, a father, those walls came down of being prideful because I started realizing, especially when I started having a relationship with God, it was just pride that kept me from asking for help. And once I started learning to do that, it's amazing how many people are willing to help you. And especially a fellow man, a fellow father, a fellow husband, it's a pretty amazing thing. And I got to admit, the only reason why we're at today is not only because God's in our life, but more importantly, God put people in our lives. And he put them in there because we weren't afraid to ask. So pretty powerful. So that is the one thing that truly sticks out with my father. He drilled it in my head. It didn't make sense as a kid, but it makes all the sense in the world now.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. What a great legacy for your dad, who's still alive, right? So,
yes, he is.
Hopefully he can continue to enjoy the fruits of all the time and energy that he put into the work that he did and raising you and your siblings, and is enjoying being a grandparent, no doubt.
Yes.
From an educational standpoint, my recollection was you attended Marine Valley Community College as well as ITT, and although you didn't take a degree, you studied environmental, where you had environmental classes, which eventually led to the career that you have. And from a career standpoint, I think you also mentioned that you had considered going into the Marines. And I'm sort of curious to know, what was that fork in the road that put you down this path versus the other path?
Interesting enough, I can easily answer that. That was an easy one. When I didn't go directly to college, right out of high school, my father had a rule. When you're 18, you're not allowed to live in this house. And that was a rule that he kind of grew up having, that you are now a bird with feathers and wings and you must get to flying. So on my 18th birthday, he said, well, pack your bags. You're going to have to figure something out. Go away to college, go to the Marines, because they all served. Go to the Marines or go get a job. And if you live here, you're paying rent. So I thought he was kidding, but he wasn't kidding because I figured he wasn't around that much. He wouldn't notice, but he did notice. So he wasn't kidding as he grabbed the suitcase and said, get the packing, and actually helped me pack. So although I thought it was a joke, it was not. And I left the house and went to the Marine recruiter's office, got an application, and then I found an ad in the paper for an environmental company and filled out an application. On my way home to try and ask my dad if I could stay the night, one more night in our house, I got a phone call from an environmental company, Delta Environmental. Company, they got a contract out of a refinery here in Romeoville or Lamont, and they hired me on the spot. The next day I was working. And since I was able to provide a check and rent money, my father let me stay in the basement. So it was that's what allowed me to go into that environmental field. And I started removing asbestos at the age of 19, thinking I was going nowhere in life. But since then, I've been doing as best as I can, removing asbestos, and I stayed in the industry. And now I have a corporation, an environmental corporation that I started on my own with my wife. That's been a blessing to us beyond I could ever imagine.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing. And speaking of Sherri, I'm sort of curious to know, how did the two of you meet and how has that transpired?
Well, the stories change a little. I like to say she's heard about me because I was such a good wrestler that, of course, she wanted to meet me. That's my story. But the story is we met in a local pizza place, Pasquale's. Now it's Aurelio's in Griffith, Indiana, and we just knew each other. She was known as the nice, sweet Christian girl, and I was known as the boy that wanted to kiss the Christian girl, but never could. So again, we became friends. But at the end of the day, the most powerful one and the most influential one has been my wife, Sherri. Again, she introduced me to God. She informed me that I could be something I never thought I could be. She told me that I could do anything. And with her support, that's truly where we're at today. I mean, if she didn't come into my life, the trajectory of my life would be completely different regardless.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. I can say with 100% confidence, if I did not have Peggy, who's my wife of 38 years in my life, I definitely would not be the person I am today. So thanks again. So let's switch gears and talk about special needs, on a personal level and then beyond.
Okay.
So I'm sort of curious to know, prior to Carter's diagnosis, did you or Sherri have any exposure to the special needs community?
Absolutely not. No, we didn't. So what an eye-opener and what a surprise. And we had no idea even when he was born that he was special needs. I just figured out he was a little swollen. His eyes, we have olive-shaped eyes a little, and his eyes looked a little different. I thought they were just a little more pronounced. So I had no idea. So no, and we don't do any tests or anything. We didn't care if we had a boy or a girl, just a healthy child.
Okay.
So no, we were, much to our surprise, when we started seeing some changes, when we took him to cardiologist, then we were informed.
So at what age was that, and how was the diagnosis made?
That was, I want to say we were probably about 6 to 7 months in that they were suggested that we take a test from the cardiologist. They found a murmur in his heart. Pediatric doctors seen it on a checkup. Heard it. He didn't see it. He heard it. He heard the murmur. And he didn't make mention of Down syndrome or anything as well. So we took him in, and then they did a test on him. And then I remember it was like it was yesterday. We were in the cardiologist's office, and she came in and says, well, your son was tested extra chromosomes. He has Down syndrome, and he has atrioventricular heart defect. Boy, did the floor drop out on us. We don't even really understand Down syndrome, or we know what it is, but we're not really familiar with it. 2, atrioventricular heart defect. What is that? What does that mean? And then she went on to explain it. And then, me being the individual that I am, what does this mean? What are percentages? I want all these answers, and we didn't get straight answers. And it was, oh my gosh, it was a very tough moment. And again, once again, as I talked about the anger, now the anger came out. Why us? Why this shouldn't happen to us? We didn't know. Why didn't people tell us? You start blaming the other doctors. You start blaming who delivered Carter. And then I start blaming God, which was the biggest struggle. So once we got our hands around it and we were able to tame our emotions, we were able to start focusing on what needs to be done. What do we need to do? And we realized we need to start praying. We need to start speaking into Carter's life, just like we did Autumn's life. She was born first. We need to start focusing on the task at hand. And the task at hand is focusing on being the best parents that we can be, educating ourselves, supporting our child, our family, educating everyone around us as well. And then really getting deeper into God. I know I keep bringing this up, and I'm not an overly spiritual person, but I'm starting through our conversation to realize how much God plays an impact in our lives. I'm usually not referencing it this much, to be honest with you. But the reality of it is that anger made us draw closer. We did a lot of interesting things in fear when we found out Carter had Down syndrome, and especially the heart surgery that they were giving us 50-50 on. We can't guarantee he's going to have this. He has holes in his heart. They're pretty large. He's not strong enough to have surgery yet. We're going to have to wait and see if he gets bigger. But, if you see anything where he goes listless, change of color tone starts changing, it gets purple or blue, that's an emergency. Rush him in here at the Children's Memorial because it's not good. So, and then we leave the hospital with that information, and you're still in panic because every day you're staring at your child and not appreciating him being in front of you, but you're in fear of what can happen. You kind of control our life for a while, control our life in such a way that we were seeking avenues of prayer towers and other ministries to create miracles and calling ministries. You know, I don't want to name names, but we call every ministry out there, especially if they were raising people from the dead. I mean, it went to the point to where I started seeking myself. I have tattoos on my back, and that could be a sign of that's holding the miracle back. We heard all kinds of things from all kinds of ministries, and no matter what they told us, we went and did it, not understanding that we were losing time, valuable time, and just focusing on loving each other and appreciating the time in front of us. It took us away, and it made us have more resentment. So it was, I guess you could call that we were in panic. And we were trying to seek any avenue out for Carter to receive a miracle and not have Down syndrome or not have to have open heart surgery. And needless to say, the miracle didn't happen in Carter, but it happened in our lives. That we were able to be so blessed and are today, not only with all three of our children, but with Carter being in our life, it opened up a new world to us. In a world that we are so excited to be involved in and so happy to be part of. And it's so needed that, you know, people, you know, I wouldn't say powerful people, but people that want to make a difference, people that have a heart and want to play a part need to be involved in. And we feel that's what we've turned into. And it's really been a positive thing in our life, not only for Carter, not only for us, but our other children, to be an example, not only in our community, but our children. So.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. I'm wondering, was there some advice, meaningful advice you got somewhere along the way that helped put this into perspective and put you on the path that you're describing?
You know what? It was just being around other individuals with special needs and realizing, wait a second, we don't have to give up. We don't have to worry about everything. You know, if you put the work in, things can change. Not everything's going to change. Our life isn't going to change. And then we started seeing the value of how much of a better person Carter's made us and how we started surrounding ourselves with people that were more selfless and, you know, understanding that, you know, through sacrifice and caring of other people's needs, we become better people. And that's really what we've turned into and what we appreciate most on this earth is that we're able to focus on other people's needs instead of our wants and watching everyone be blessed during that process. So now we're almost addicted. We love doing it. And it all started because of Carter. And, you know, it's interesting being around individuals with special needs, regardless of what those needs are. I love being around our individuals. And that's why, you know, being at the farm, I just left the farm. You know, I just hang out with them. I probably too much instead of taking care of my own business here. Because when you're around a group of people that look at the best of you and there's no judgment and they're just happy to be with you, you know, I think my niece said it best. We have a niece that came in to watch Carter's baseball game a couple of years ago. Her name's Aubriana. She's happened to be in town right now, spending time with Carter right now as we speak. Aubriana went to this baseball game Carter had, and it's all his buddies with special needs, you know, autism, Down syndrome, and other diagnoses. They're all celebrating each other. You know, they're playing baseball, they're having fun, they're celebrating each other, embracing each other, encouraging each other on. Well, on the ride home, my niece started crying to me and Sherri, my wife. And she goes, Auntie, Uncle, I think we're the ones with the problem. We're the ones that need help, not them. Because if we could all be like them, and she's crying, sharing this story with us. And she goes, if we could just all be like them, we would all be in a better place. There wouldn't be this hatred. Why can't everyone support each other like they support each other? And that, you know, it's situations like that that just really hit home, you know, and we continue to see that now with this farm. We see it on a regular basis. So, yeah, it's just, this has been an interesting road from the hurts, from the anger to the blessings and the excitement and joy and growth that we have as individuals.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. I've heard it phrased that there's a purpose in the pain, right? You don't know why you're going through something at the time or how it's going to pan out, but you can look back and say, oh, now I understand. I can see there was a purpose to all this. And I'm sort of curious to know what impact Carter's situations had on his siblings or the rest of your family, your extended family.
Okay, it's well, that's a loaded because it's a mixture. Um, you know, I think with the outside family, let's say my family, my brother, my sister, my dad, my mother, there was concern but not understanding. And once people started to get to know Carter and they started understanding, wait a second, it's not like he has a virus. You're not going to get sick. He has Down syndrome. He's the same as us. There's just areas where there's delays, but we go work with those delays. Once they started educating themselves and stop being ignorant, and I mean, when I say ignorant, I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in the way of just lack of knowledge. They had lack of knowledge. And once people, and I find this today with anyone in our community, that's why I love inclusion. Once people start understanding that they're individuals and they feel and hurt just like us, and they realize having a relationship with us is no different than having a relationship with me. When they get past that, they start realizing, wow, what was I thinking? And that is the ignorance and patience. You start learning how to have patience, and that's the most important part, because we can all understand each other, whether you have special needs or not, through patience. My family around us has learned to be patient. The siblings, it was different. I'm glad you asked that question, because it was tough for my oldest, Autumn. I think the toughest thing with her is, why is he having heart surgery? Why is there so much energy focused on Carter? Why isn't it about me? Everything was about the firstborn, and she had all this attention. And then when we were going through the surgery aspect, it's like we lost that contact. Now, we didn't lose contact with her, but she felt we stopped contacting her, because we had a different priority in mind. We were talking about Carter's life. And, it took up a lot of energy, and that was always our conversations. So it's interesting that, as a parent, you need to reel that in. You need to understand that they all, regardless of, again, special needs, all our children need our attention, and that's I wish there was a coaching lesson on how to be a father, because you tend to forget these little things, but you don't realize the ripple effect it has as well. And, But through that, we realize that we have to prioritize ourselves and take time for all our kids, and everyone's equal, regardless of needs or not. We're all equal.
Yeah, well, what you're describing is the challenge that parents have when there is a child with special needs, to make sure that that child's needs don't trump everything else going on in the family. And, the siblings, like you were describing with Autumn, oftentimes feel like subordinates, right? They're not getting the same time or attention, and it's hard to be equal, right? Like a third if you have 3 children, but to find ways to do one-on-one things with them, and to make sure that there's no resentment between siblings, and that nobody feels scarred by the experience. So anyway, thank you for your authenticity. I'm sort of curious to know what supporting organizations has Carter benefited from, or that your family might have benefited from over the years.
For sure. Well, first and foremost, churches we've belonged to. The open pouring of love and praise and patience through, all kinds of churches we've been to, Exchange Life Ministry. I mean, I won't name them all, but we like to find churches that have a need, and we try and fulfill it on a construction end that I can help through our philanthropy that we do with NES, my environmental firm. So through that, we've been exposed to many churches and many ministries, and almost every one of them have met us with great open arms for all my children. Having an understanding as well of, each child goes through something, and just accepting Carter. So all the ministries we've been involved in, and Lincoln Way Special Rec is another one. It's a rec center we have locally. And through that, Carter started getting involved in sport outlets, through sports and recreational centers. And then we started realizing he could start forging these friendships that he wasn't forging with other individuals in our neighborhood. And through that, we were able as parents to start forging relationships with parents that had understanding. And we've just all grown ever since, forging these relationships, being within a community of people that are understanding. So I would say those are the most impactful organizations.
And did the Lincoln Way Rec experience lead to Special Olympics?
Yes. Well, an individual that we met from there, Brooke Clawwitter, the same individual that put the seed in our heart to do farming experience for individuals with special needs, who happens to be a board member for Special Olympics, and now she will be the chair this year, and who will be a board member at our farm. She's the one that said, you should have Carter. He's so athletic in Special Olympics. And we're like, what's Special Olympics? Oh my gosh, you don't know Special Olympics. So she turned our world upside down, and now Carter is extremely athletic and loves to interact with individuals, being competitively involved in sports. I say competitively because, he likes to compete, but he just, more importantly, likes to be there and be with people. So that's been a blessing. Again, another blessing, one of many.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. You meet a lot of people through, like you said, through church, through Lincoln Way, Special Rec, through Special Olympics. And, you find that you have a lot in common with them, right? And all of a sudden, this is your peer group. This is your support group. These are the people that, you don't have to explain yourself to, who aren't judgmental, like the broader community. And, there's a destiny, right, that we each have. And it seems like you're moving closer and closer to yours as a result. So let's talk about Navarro Farms. What's the backstory? What's the mission of the organization?
Okay. The story is, we bought the property, we found it. I have this environmental firm that we started in 2000, and we've been expanding frequently, and we outgrew our yard, so we needed more warehouse space. I've been looking at buildings, and this 5-acre farm property came up for sale in between my house, my residence, and the office, which is 2 minutes away from this current office. We thought, oh, what a wonderful place. We could zone it ag, pay cheap taxes, and I could put some pole barns up there and store some equipment. Well, as we were showing our friends, the Clawwitters, my son's best friend, out there running around in the farm, clowning around, the mother made mention of, hey, I grew up on a farm in Iowa. It would be awesome if we could teach our individuals how to farm. Well, I kind of dismissed that, thinking, the heck with that. I need more warehouse space. And then every night when me and my wife get together before bed, we pray and we talk. And for some reason that Brooke planted a seed, boy, it'd be nice. Well, Sherri, what do you think about gardening? Well, we don't know anything about it. What do you think about farming? We don't know anything about it. I'm like, okay, you know what, Sherri, you're right. But then the next day, Sherri comes to me and says, Damion, I think we need to do something about farming. I said, what do you mean? So she planted a seed, and we started realizing, wait a second, this can be an outlet. Because we had no idea about how that would work with special needs. We've never done anything on our own with special needs. But then we started looking online and started seeing, wow, there's individuals with autism, with sensory issues, touching, feeling, smelling, planting, sense of accountability, sense of accomplishment, teaching, educating, and creating a communal space they can hang out, a space that we can focus on inclusion with our community. It really started taking root, and we feel God put this seed in our life, and we're watering it. And we went ahead and chose to go that route and forget the warehouses and focus on creating an environment that we can have people grow, our community, our individuals with special needs, and just ourselves. So that's our tagline, is a place to grow. Navarro Farm, a place to grow, because we're growing in many different ways, physically, mentally, spiritually. So that's how it took root. And from there, it started morphing into something. Again, we didn't have a plan. We didn't have a design. We bought the property, and the week before we bought the property, a tornado came through town, almost knocked the barn down. So then we were going to knock down the barn, and someone said, hey, I'll help you. Why don't we try and restore this barn and make it a communal place? Okay, great. So then one person came into our life. Another person came into our life and said, hey, why about raised bed gardens? That's perfect. So now we have 84 oversized raised beds, which I think is the largest in our state. Raised bed gardens that we grow crops in, and our individuals with special needs are taught how to do that, harvest them, plant them, harvest them, maintain them. And then they learn through that maintaining how to feed chickens, feed the bugs to the chickens, and how the process of composting goes. We realized this has grown into something that we knew nothing about farming. And now we're learning as everyone else is learning. We're surrounded by great people that educate us on the daily. And we're all growing, and because of that.
So when did you actually do the first raised bed gardens? What year was it?
What year was it? Well, we bought the property in September of last year, and it was all soybean field. There was nothing on the property but a barn and a house and a dirt road. If you look online and see where we are now, it's quite different. We took possession of the property, rebuilt the house in October. Snow came, so we ceased work. And then we started working in March, and it's 100% complete by June.
Wow.
Oh, February. I'm sorry. February we started work. It was a race to get it up because we realized if we take all summer to do this, there's individuals with special needs that have no outlet. Pandemic hit. We figured open air. A lot of facilities are closed door facilities. We have all this property. 5 acres doesn't seem like much, but it is much when you're out there and you're maintaining it. And we wanted to put it to good use. We didn't want to wait. So we figured out we'll use our finances and figure out how to make this work and then figure out how to, raise money or continue it later on. So
was 2021 then the first full year for planting and harvesting?
Yes. And we've been moving forward. We still have stuff in the planter beds right now because we have farmer programs. We found out that there's individuals with special needs in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. After our farmer program, we developed a farmer program, first and foremost, of individuals going out there and learning how to tend to the crops, learning how to grow them, harvest them, and being part of that whole process. And then creating activities for them, too, on the farm. So we're always doing something for 2 hours. We're making it fun, we're making it interactive, and we're making it educational. Through that process this summer, I didn't realize that, or my wife and I didn't realize that there's individuals in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, and 50s that are sitting at home doing nothing. So now we continue to plant stuff, and we're trying to hold on to stuff. We're trying to get donations right now for a greenhouse so that we could do stuff year round and make sure these individuals have an outlet so that we're continuing to have an opportunity or create an opportunity for individuals with special needs, not only to be educated, but to have a purpose, and a sense of self-accomplishment.
I love it. What type of plants, just so I can get a visual, are you growing there?
Oh my gosh, what don't we have is the question. Watermelon, squash, cucumbers, peppers, lettuce, multiple types of lettuce, tomatoes, multiple types of tomatoes, beans. We have multiple beans that we grow. I wish I could tell you, but I'm really not familiar with everything because that's how much we didn't know of doing this. It's pretty interesting. We learned along the way. If you look, we were interviewed by CBS and they asked us, what do you know about farming? And me and my wife just looked at each other and we didn't even know how to answer that because we know nothing of farming. We know nothing of farming. What we do know is that there's a need and we were just fulfilling that need.
Yeah. Well, I love it. It has less to do with the farming itself than it is to meet this unmet need, like you were saying, with these individuals who have talent, but it's not being put to use. So just to be clear, you plant, you maintain the plants, you harvest the plants, and then is there an avenue to generate revenue from the sale of these vegetables?
Yes, through that we made a farmer's market. It's called Carter's Corner. Carter is my son's name, and we had a trailer built. It's a really unique trailer. I'd encourage you to come out and take a look at it, or we'll send you photos of it. Or you could see it, I believe, on that Channel 2 or CBS episode that we were on, or our website. And we have a farmer's market every Saturday, and we sell produce that we grow. And all that revenue goes directly into the farm for the development of the farm, for the upkeep of the farm and supplies for our farmers. But we do, just so you know, even though me and my wife aren't too educated on the planting and horticultural side, we retain people that are educated, that do teach us and our farmers. So that are much more educated than we are. To the point to where our first farm manager, Dorothy, made mention of, Damion, we need coolers. We have so much produce here. You and Sherri need to go out and get a cooler. I said, no problem, Dorothy. I'm going to go get a cooler. I race to the closest Ace Hardware. I pick up 5 of the largest Yeti coolers. I'm like, I'm going to get her the Yeti. They're the best ones, right? At least I'm paying the most for them. I don't know. I assume they're the best. I bring them back. I'm all excited. I bring them back in my pickup truck. And I said, Dorothy, look what I got you. I got you the Yetis. You're going to be in great shape. She walks up to me and says, Damion, you really don't know anything about farming, do you? Or anything I'm talking about. I was like, what do you mean, Dorothy? She goes, a walk-in cooler. Look at all we have here. We have truckloads of produce. So needless to say, I had to go buy a walk-in cooler to sit outside. So it's been an interesting learning process for all of us, but it's been an exciting learning process. Having individuals that can't speak, they're signing, knowing that we could start servicing more people than me and Sherri thought we ever could. So we paired up. I found a company that can service people with all types of disabilities and needs. It's called BU Therapy, and I brought her out, and she's servicing. She's paired up with us, and as a service, people need to run things through insurance. So she has an outlet that we can run through things through insurance. We realize that there's more people we could be helping if I just open our doors to other people that can help. And it's been pretty exciting.
Yeah, well, I love the idea that you're collaborating with other organizations and not trying to do it all yourself. And I'm sort of curious to know, just from a scope perspective, how many individuals with special needs have you been able to touch this past year, or your first full year of being in the farming business?
Probably about 150. And now we're only a few months into it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been incredible. We had a cookout last weekend. We had 60 individuals with special needs out there just embracing each other, playing games in an open field, interacting with individuals, cooking out, just sitting down, having a big picnic on the farm. We had another one. We had a dance party. We had another 60 people with individuals with special needs out there dancing on the patio we poured, concrete patio. We had a movie night. We had about 40 individuals with special needs out there. In 2 weeks, we're going to have another cookout, like a little harvest cookout. And we have events planned. We try and do it on a regular basis now because we realize, wow, look at the impact it's making. Look at the friendships being forged. Not only is it the educational aspect, but it's the communal aspect that we like and the friendships that are being forged. We had a local high school soccer team come out. And all the teenagers end up playing and just hanging out with our special needs individuals because they never realized that they could just have a normal conversation. They don't have to feel awkward. They don't have to feel uncomfortable. We explain to them that they're just like you. And through that, now we have high school kids volunteering out here for service hours, interacting, just developing friendships. It's been so powerful. I don't have words to really describe it. I encourage you to come out and see it. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely going to make an effort to get to Frankfort and to see it firsthand. So thank you for the invitation. I'm thinking about advice now, and I'm wondering, is there any specific advice that you can share with parents, maybe specifically dads, about helping their children with disability reach their full potential?
Wow, where do you start with that? I don't have time on that either. Yes, I would say patience with your children. Patience, take the time to just be with them. I don't want to discredit any other fathers out there, but now that I'm involved in the special needs community, being with a lot of parents, there's a void out there, and the void is fathers. Now, I'm not judging anyone, and I know most of the times the home dynamics consist of a husband, more often than the wife going out there and providing a living for their family. But when you're communicating with 80% of the wives instead of, husbands in these activities and the events that we're even holding, or events that I've been exposed to in the past through special recs or anything else, Special Olympics, get involved. That, the advice I would give to any other father, get involved, be a part. Your family needs it. Your wife needs it. Your child needs it. And we've seen a more powerful impact in people's lives when the father is there. And I'm not negating any mother. I'm not negating any family that's, divorced or, dual parenting. By no means, please don't take it that way. But the power in having both parents is pretty amazing because you see that child flourish. You see that child be more interactive. You see that child have more confidence within himself or herself. So be involved. That's the most important.
Yeah, well, you've hit the nail on the head. You reemphasized the importance of being patient and then the importance of being present in your child's life, physically, emotionally, spiritually. involved in your child's life. So when you get your great dad coin, I think you're really going to appreciate it.
Okay, wonderful.
Because all those words are packed on this little itsy bitsy coin that you can carry around in your pocket. So I'm sort of curious to know, why have you agreed to be a mentor father as part of the Special Fathers Network?
Because I believe what you're doing is so very important and valuable. And again, it wasn't the process of us meeting, understanding that there is a void out there. It's obvious, it's apparent, with fathers. But I think a lot of fathers need encouragement in what you promote, and what your organization promotes, and other fathers being mentors. And the struggles we've been, I think a lot of fathers need to know that we all go through something. Don't be afraid. Don't let pride step in your way. And it's okay to hurt. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to not have the answers, because we don't always have them. And more importantly, there's always someone out there to help you. And other people are experienced what we've experienced. And I think that you understand that, and you're with a group of men that understand that. And I think it's so very important that we're that influence. We're that mentor to other people.
That's fabulous. Well, we're thrilled to have you as part of the organization. And I'm sort of curious to know, is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Not off the top of my head. I'm just happy and excited that we were able to have a conversation today. And I really hope that I'm through this organization, I'm able to meet other fathers that maybe need advice, or maybe other fathers that I could get advice from. So thank you.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. If somebody wants to learn more about Navarro Farms or to contact you, what's the best way to do that?
Go to navarrofarm.org. You fill out the volunteer sheet, or just contact us through that outlet. There's contact information on that.
Excellent. Well, be sure to include that in the show notes, so it'll make it as easy as possible for somebody to follow up. Damion, thank you for taking the time and many insights. As a reminder, Damion is just one of the individuals who's part of the Special Fathers Network, a mentoring program for fathers raising a child with special needs. If you'd like to be a mentor father, or are seeking advice from a mentor father with a similar situation to your own, please go to 21stcenturydads.org. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. As you probably know, the 21st Century Dads Foundation is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, which means we need your help to keep our content free to all concerned. Would you please consider making a tax-deductible contribution? I would really appreciate your support. Damion, thanks again.
Thank you, sir. And I hate to cut you short. I got some farmers at the farm right now. I've been waiting on me.
And thank you for listening to the Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast. The Special Fathers Network is a dad-to-dad mentoring program for fathers raising children with special needs. Through our personalized matching process, new fathers with special needs children match up with mentor fathers in a similar situation. It's a great way for dads to support other dads. To find out more, go to 21stcenturydads.org.
And if you're a dad looking for help or would like to offer help, we would be honored to have you join our closed Facebook group. Please go to facebook.com/groups and search Dad to Dad. Lastly, we're always looking to share interesting stories. If you'd like to share your story or know of a compelling story, please send an email to david@21stcenturydads.org.
The Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast was produced by me, Tom Couch. Thanks again to Horizon Therapeutics, who believe that science and compassion must work together to transform lives. That's why they work tirelessly to research, develop, and bring forward medicines for people living with rare and rheumatic diseases. Discover more about Horizon Therapeutics at horizontherapeutics.com.